Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Welcome to day 16 of teaser season for patch 3.25 and the upcoming Settlers of Kelger expansion. You'll notice that there was no day 15 teaser video. I did a deep dive into some of the big winners of the patch notes, but didn't go into anything new in that day because there's been no official teasers over this weekend. Grinding Gear Games dropped all the main information for us on day 14, and now there's just a couple of little erratas that have come out, which is why this video is going to be so much shorter than the 7.25 hour marathon where we went through all the patch notes on day 14. Today we're going to be dealing with some of the clarifications that have arisen from the patch notes. Things that were originally wrong in the patch notes, some that are little comical typos. For example, there were 2 typos in the original line about the nomadic teachings cluster that's being added to the passive tree. One of 2 typos has been fixed, the other one remains. So the original version talks about how there's a new cluster that's going to provide plus 2% to all elemental resistances. That doesn't sound very good, but there's a missing word there, and that word was maximum. The other thing though is that both of these versions of the patch notes talk about the nomadic teachings cluster being northwest of Templar Start, when actually it is southwest of Templar Start. So there's still a typo to fix there, but the one that really matters has been fixed. Second and probably most significant out of the changes that have been added to the patch notes is a correction to Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike had a huge typo. With the nerfs to short-term buffs that are coming in 3.25, all the melee skills are getting quite substantial buffs in the amount of damage that they do. Lightning Strike though was only getting 40%, which would have compensated for melee totems, but was not going to compensate for losing its own flat lightning damage and for all of the other changes that were taking place. So Lightning Strike looked like it had gone backwards when other skills had gone forwards that were melee. However, all of this was a massive typo. What Grinding Gear Games had done wrong was that they had read off the line for something that was not gem level 20, and so they gave the 324 stats and the 325 stats for a different gem level. Now they've corrected it so that you can see that gem level 20 is going to do 456% of base damage, which is 103% more base damage than it does in 3.24. This more than compensates for the lost flat lightning, the lost melee totems, and the lost use of Berserk. And now I'm no longer going to argue with people that were considering league starting Lightning Strike that they should league start something else. No, if you like the playstyle of Lightning Strike, it's in a perfectly fine place. Feel free to play it. Next, we have some huge news for a third-party tool that you no doubt use, and that is Path of Building. You might be wondering, how is it that I've got the new Gladiator in Path of Building? Because it's not updated yet. Well, there is a beta version of the 325 tree that is out. Fair warning, this is not going to have all calculations correct yet, but if you're interested in getting the new passive tree and being able to play around with it, all you need to do is go into Path of Building, go to your options section in the bottom left, and then here make sure that you turn on opt-in to weekly beta test builds. Once you've done that, exit from this menu, click check for update, and Path of Building will automatically update itself to 2.42.0 beta, which will have the 3.25 tree on it, and there's likely to be further versions that are released over the next few days. Fourth on the agenda, we have some answers to frequently asked questions. Specifically, this is Octavian, who works for Grinding Gear Games now. He used to be a Path of Exile streamer, and the question that he was answering was me asking, if a player vendors 3 golden oils, will this result in 1 prismatic oil, or a sad player who earns a mere 3 fragments of wisdom? And the answer was, you cannot vendor your way into a prismatic oil. Also, if you're interested in checking out those prismatic oil options, have a look in Path of Building, and you'll be able to find them there. They're scattered all around the passive tree. And we have a snitch who has succeeded in getting something completely broken taken out of the game before it was ever added. This is the interaction between the new Oath of Spring notable that's found on the Warden tree and the unique ring, the Taming. The Taming reads 20% increased damage with hits and ailments per freeze, shock, or ignite on an enemy. And Oath of Spring was going to allow you to have up to 50 shocks on each enemy. Combine these two, and you are looking at getting 1000% increased damage on your left ring, and 1000% increased damage on your right ring. This might have been a little bit problematic for game balance, and as a result, the Taming is not going to go live in this form, but Grinding Gear Games have not yet announced the form that it will go live in. I personally really like this item. It's something that's very, very solid for quite a while in progression. You probably can't get it until you're about level 75 or 80, but it remains relevant until about level 95 or so, at which point you want to start getting a bit more defense, but it is a really good pure damage ring, and it's something that's definitely usable no matter what they end up doing with it, unless they make it worse than it was in 3.24. However, had this interaction with the Warden gone live, you would have found that pretty much everyone, whether they were interested in playing a Warden or not, would have felt compelled to go and run a Warden that was using 2 copies of the Taming. That's never going to happen, so I think that's for the best. Anyways, that's all we got in the way of news today. I'm going to leave it there. May Valobs have interesting results, and I will see you around.